Welcome to the Accidental Experts podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Hamilton. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a child and family therapist. I have been in practice for over 15 years, and I'm also a mom of 4. So I know the challenges both professionally and personally. I'm so glad that you're here today to grow your parenting toolbox. Please come as you are and be ready to learn. My goal is to make you the accidental expert so that you can raise healthy humans. Welcome back. I'm so glad that you're here today. Hopefully over the last couple of weeks, you guys have listened to our episodes on childhood anxiety and gotten to hear what Katie Cedeno had to say about helping our kids navigate anxiety. Today, we're going to talk about how to connect with your kids. I don't know about your kiddos, but they are not the same human as they were from the second that they were born. I mean, they are the same, but their needs and their abilities are different. And so I am continually working to connect with my kids on a daily basis. And I think as a parent, that's an important part and it's also a hard part because sometimes we don't know exactly what to do. And if we make it part of our normal routine, then it becomes just easier to navigate. And when we understand how our kids think about things and they're volunteering information to us, then we understand them better and we're able to support and help them navigate life so much easier. So this is one of my favorite things is connecting to our kids. So we're going to start with one of the things that I love, which is the 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. And he has a website that I will include in our show notes and an assessment that you can take on behalf of your kids or have your kids take it. There's a book on adults, there's a book on teenagers, and there's a book on little kids, and they're all fantastic. And I think the 5 things that I love that he talks about are the different love languages, the way that we're receiving love. So the first one is words of affirmation. That looks like, I'm so proud of you, or you did a great job, or I love you so much. And then another one is quality time. Quality time is about not the quantity of time, but doing things that that person loves together. So cooking, going to a movie, attending sporting events. The next one is physical touch. So that would be hugs, high fives, back rub. Another one is acts of service. So those are doing nice things for the other person, like running to get them markers for school or doing their laundry or taking them and a friend to a movie. And the last one is gifts. Gifts are about surprises or birthday or holiday gifts. And I think it's important for us to understand what our kids, how they receive love, because then when we're doing things that we're wanting them to know that we care about them, they're getting their bucket filled. So I know for me, words of affirmation and physical affection are really important. So I love it when my kids sit close to me on the couch or when somebody tells me that I'm doing a good job. And I like the other ones, but those are the ones that are most powerful. And we oftentimes do our own love language to the people around us, which is good, but also may not be meeting their need the way that they need it. And so if acts of service, taking out the trash without being asked, is something that really is meaningful, then we want to know that that is something that is going to make our mom feel good. Or for our kids, running to get them markers, if that's an act of service that really feels good for them, or taking them to their doctor's appointments makes them feel really good, then that's what we want to make sure that we're amplifying so that they know how much we care about them. Something in Dr. Chapman's work that I find very fascinating is also this idea that if we have a certain love language, and then there's something that happens that is negative associated with that, then we can have a different understanding of that. So let me explain what I mean by those words. So let's say our primary love language is words of affirmation, and our parent says to us, you are always making bad choices. I can't trust you. What that kid hears is, I'm unlovable. What the parent was meaning is, I really want you to get yourself together so that you can make good choices so that I can trust you. Like, I want to trust you, but right now, based on what you're doing, I can't. And so what we might do is have a conversation about this, or you could say, I'm not going to be able to let you have friends over this week because I am so exhausted by the time that I have spent uncovering the truth about what happened at school and the test situation. And so I'm not going to be able to do that. That would be more of an act of service. So then that consequence might be something that is less hurtful, not less effective, just that it doesn't make the kid feel unlovable. And so I think that is an important thing to remember is both the love language is important for filling up their bucket, but we don't want to be punitive to our kids. We actually want consequences to be productive and something that they're able to sit with. Another way to connect with our kids is about having open-ended questions. So not just yes or no things. And at my house, a lot of times I do this with having the kids choose a conversation that they would like to ask everybody at the table. So whether it's our nuclear family or extended family or friends, the kids and adults all pick a question. So that might be, what's your favorite season? That might be, what's your favorite ice cream place? That might be, what's your favorite season? What's your favorite game? Or if you have a daughter like mine, it might be, what's your favorite unicorn? Every single time. Sometimes we'll get, what's your favorite mermaid? But her question sometimes is very similar. And we just answer it because that is what is on her heart for that day and weeks and months maybe. But we just do it because as long as it's an appropriate question, it's fair for her to ask. Another thing that I think helps us with open-ended questions is to present a scenario that you could imagine your kid in and ask them how they would handle that. I think this is not a conversation that we would necessarily be doing at the dinner table, but this might be something that you're talking to them independently. You're going on a walk and you say, I was wondering what would happen. What would you do if you were at recess and your friends told another kid that they couldn't play with them? What would you do? What do you think you should do? And talking them through the challenge of that situation, because sometimes they don't know what they would do. And that helps to prime them to be ready to handle that, to have their own opinion on it. You might also say, like, what might get in the way of doing what you think you should do and what you would actually feel comfortable doing. You might also bring in some feelings and say, how would you feel about that? Or how do you think that other kid would feel about it? What if you said, I'm going to leave playing with my friends to go play with this other kid because they don't have anybody to play with? How would that feel? If you have a teenager, you might say, if you were in chemistry class and you saw a classmate cheating on a test, what would you do? What do you think you should do? How would you handle that? How would you make that decision? What factors come into that? And hearing what their thoughts are on that topic. There's no right answer, right? In those situations, like as a parent, I might think I know the right answer, but I also have to hear what my kid has to say. So another way to connect is when our kids bring conversations to us. They might say, oh my gosh, I had this thing happen at school. And I think it's important for us to talk to our kids about what our purpose is or what our role is in this conversation. Are you wanting me to listen or solve here? Like, how can I help you? And oftentimes, whether they're elementary school kid or middle or high school kid, they can tell you what they're wanting from you. And sometimes they might change it. Well, actually, I wanted you to just listen, but now I want to hear how you would solve this. What would you do? And sometimes they want us to solve it. And sometimes we should want them to solve it, right? To put it on them to say, what do you think is the best thing to do here? But we're teaching them how to problem solve. And that's an important thing because we're not always going to be around for our kids or in every situation. So they're learning how to solve a problem. If you are talking to your kid and they say, I just want you to listen, and you have something that comes up, you might say to them, can I ask you a question about that? Or I'd like to hear more about this. Or what do you think about this? And they might reject that. They might say, don't ask me. I told you I wanted you to just listen. You can say, okay. Because we want our kids to keep bringing us conversations or topics or concerns that they have. And the more that we are not shutting them down or lecturing them about what they should do, the more we're going to hear about what's actually happening in their life and what they're thinking about. And that is forever valuable, right? Because then we have a pulse on what is going on and can understand the dynamics that they're in. If you find yourself in a situation where they said they wanted you to listen and you are listening, but you're concerned about some of the stuff, you could come back later, maybe that next evening or the next day or a couple days later and say, can I talk to you about this? Or I've been thinking about the situation that we talked about. Could I share with you some of my concerns? But most importantly, we should be brief. I'll let our kids talk and marinate in that information. We have less than 10 minutes of a conversation to get through to them, or they stop listening to what we have to say. So keeping it brief is really important. The reality is that no matter what age we are, even the age we are now, we're still going to make our own choices. So whether we're 2 or 42, or 92. We're all going to make our own choices. And so even if you tell your kid, your toddler, don't hit, they're still going to decide if they want to hit. And if you say you need to study, they're still going to decide if they need to study. If you tell your teen not to hang out with a particular person, they're still going to decide what they're going to do about that. And so instead of telling them what they should and shouldn't do, you can also bring it up and say things like, I'm curious about what you think about that situation with your friend where she's been making a lot of poor choices. Do you feel like you should be spending time with her? Or what do you enjoy about being around her? Or what do you think he should do? Or that sounds really hard. I'm curious about what you're going to do or how you're going to support that friend. Or do you think that being friends with them is still an important relationship for you to have? And hear what they have to say. Another way that we can connect is to notice things that we love and appreciate about them. Things that we can say are, I'm so proud of you for standing up in what you believe in. Or I was very impressed that you got ready before me. I love that one. I love that you care so much about your animals. That can be really helpful for us to reemphasize what helps them to be a well-rounded human. So just independently noticing something about them, like the things that we would like them to do that they're doing, and just noticing how they feel about it. Like, I love that you're so proud of yourself. That would be a fantastic one. A huge way to connect is to also repair when we mess up, because we're going to. As parents, we're going to mess up. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to say things that we wish we didn't say, or were more hurtful than we intended. And we can say, I'm sorry because, or I'd like to try that again, or I said something I'm not proud of, and then repair. Because not only are we the model for that, we're teaching them how to do it, but then it also helps to build and improve our relationship with our kids. Something I've really been talking a lot about in these podcasts is this team mentality. When you succeed, I succeed, and we all succeed together. I love this idea. And one of the ways that we can continue with this team mentality is saying, I believe in you. Or my mom would say things when I was a kid or a teenager, like, if I was a kid, I'd want to be friends with you. Or if I was a teenager, you would be a fantastic friend. And I know that in those moments when I was having a hard time, that those words were invaluable to me, to know that even if I thought maybe I wouldn't want you as a friend, or I didn't know you that age or whatever. But hearing my mom say those words to me was really impactful. Another thing that we can say with this team mentality is, I'm on your side, or you matter to me, because knowing that we matter and that we have people fighting for us and that they care and believe about us is so important to improving our relationship and continuing our relationship with our parents. Okay, so I'd like to end by reflecting on a couple of thoughts that I want you to take away. One is, creating the relationship that you want with your kids is not going to happen overnight. So you do one of these tools 5 times. That's not going to be it. This is a journey of showing up daily to talk to our kids about what matters to them and where they are in life and what we need to know. Our words matter so very much. What we say is going to be the internal voice for our kids. We will not be perfect at this, and that gives us an opportunity to model repair, because that's going to be a lifelong skill. I'm going to end with a couple quotes. This one says, as a leader, but I'm going to use as a parent. As a parent, you have an incredible opportunity to change someone's life every single day. Leadership is never about tearing people down. It's all about helping people become the very best version of themselves. And that is at Leadership First. And the other one is by Brooke Hampton. And she says, speak to your children as if they were the wisest, kindest, most beautiful and magical humans on the earth. For what they believe is what they will become. And I love that. Thank you so much for showing up, both for your kids and for this podcast. I have truly appreciated your time. If you are enjoying what we're saying on this show, please like and subscribe. We have new episodes coming out every Tuesday. And also, follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And if you have a comment or question or a request for a topic, I love that we're getting all these requests for topics. Please email us at accidentalexperts@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time. Have a fantastic day. Some words from our legal team.
The information presented in this podcast is not intended or implied to be a substitute for appropriate professional advice, diagnosis, or treatment. All content, including text, graphics, images, and information contained on or available through this podcast, is for general information purposes only This podcast makes no representations and assumes no responsibility for the accuracy or information on or available through this podcast, and such information is subject to change without notice. You are encouraged to confirm any information obtained through this program with other sources and review all information regarding any condition or treatment with the appropriate professionals.
What we're saying is, yes, I am a real therapist, but I'm not your therapist.